What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the Ortiz versus Stannionis breakdown video. As I'm going to break down this secondary welterweight title showdown. It's actually Stannionis versus Ortiz, because Stannionis is the champion going in, as they will compete for the WBA regular welterweight title at 147 pounds. That fight takes place Saturday, July 8th on DAZN. Now, before we get into that video, if you guys could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support I can get as I try to build my channel up here to you guys. So, yeah, if you could do that, thank you very much. If you don't like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs down or, leave a comment. Let me know. I'm open to all of it. But back to this big-time welterweight fight between these two undefeated fighters. If you haven't seen my breakdown videos before, I start with, in this case, well, I will see what the fight means, first off, and then I will go into each fighter individually. Now, in a championship fight like this, I'll start with the champion and then go to the challenger second. I will ask the same questions. I believe, first it'll be what they're doing rolling into the fight, what kind of style they, need to have. It's 5 questions after that, what they've done, and then 5 questions, same ones on both sides. And then I will say, is it better for boxing if one or the other wins? And then finally, my prediction. So let's get into it and let's discuss what this fight means for the welterweight division for boxing. It's a big fight between two very good undefeated welterweights right here. Stannionis, really made a name for himself defeating Butayev last year. He's still kind of unknown in the U.S., but he's very talented, very good. And he's coming in really wanting to make a name for himself, prove that he is the champion and legitimate. He's been trying to get Errol Spence Jr. in the ring, for the last 15 months. Now Spence is fighting Crawford, so that meant a mandatory fight with Ortiz. And Ortiz is supposed to be the next big Mexican fighter. He's 25. He's undefeated, 19-0, 19 knockouts, and he's supposed to be the next big thing. And this is basically both guys' chance to prove, who the next, besides Jerome Buten, is, who the next big welterweight sensation is and future star in the sport. And so it means a lot. The winner will be the WBA regular champion and likely is going to be upgraded to full champion, because I believe the winner is Spence and Crawford, once they're all said and done, is going to probably move to 154, and all the belts will be vacated except for this one, which the regular champion will be upgraded to full champion. So that's what this fight means for the welterweight division and for boxing. Now let's jump into the fighters. We start with the defending champion, Stannionis. Stannionis, this is his first defense of the title. What has he done rolling into this fight? We look back at his last 3 fights that date back to April of 2021, where he defeated former, I don't know if Delorme was ever a world champion. I know he was a multiple-time world title challenger. He defeated him by a 12-round decision. Then he had a no contest against former champion Luis Collazo later that year. And then in his last fight in April of last year on the Spence Ugas undercard, he defeated Butayev, who is undefeated coming in, by a hard-fought but deserving 12-round split decision, as he became the WBA regular champion with that victory, and really left no doubt that he was a top 10 and very good welterweight. So it's been 15 months though of inactivity trying to get Spence in the ring, because he was the mandatory. He took all that time off, but in terms of their last 3 fights, they have about the same stamina going in. So, but Stannionis is coming in with a 2-inch reach and 2-inch height disadvantage. So his goal in this fight, like what kind of fight does he need to have, is the first question to defeat Virgil Ortiz or have the best chance at it. And really he does need to try to get inside of Ortiz, but he also doesn't need to get caught with anything big. So I think he needs to go jab for jab and really work his way in and try to make it a dogfight and test Ortiz early to see if Ortiz can handle that kind of back and forth banger like that. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to let Ortiz come at him either. I think that might be the better bet. Let Ortiz come at him and he counterpunch the way Butayev did. Because now that I think about it, scratch the first part I said, Radza Butayev is 2.5 inches taller than Stannionis. And that's the kind of fight that Stannionis fought against him. Try to counterpunch, use the angles, and beat Ortiz that way. Let Ortiz be the aggressor and come in. And that might play to Stannionis' style and the disadvantage in the height and reach. So Stannionis, you know, but he's got to be in great shape. He has to be in great shape, but he also needs to bang the body because Ortiz is coming off an 11-month layoff. It's not like Ortiz has been super active either. Like I said, the last 3 fights between these two guys date back to March and April of 2021, which is just shy of 2.5 years for these two guys. So, you know, they both have been about the same amount of activity in their last 3 fights. And Stannionis needs to try to take Ortiz deep, because Ortiz, in all honesty, his last 3 fights have been his 3 longest fights. So they were 7, 8, and 9 rounds. So Ortiz has never been 12 rounds. So Stannionis needs to try to get him into those deep waters, but the only way he can do that is by being in great shape and being the counterpuncher in this fight. That's my honest belief in his best chance of winning. Now, do I believe Stannionis can win this fight by knockout? You know, Stannionis does have some pop. He does have some power. Ortiz, I haven't seen him. I've seen him get hit and maybe stunned, but nothing too bad. Ortiz can take a shot, but it will be interesting to see. But I'm leaning more towards Stannionis might be able to wear him down and stop him in the late rounds. That might be his best bet at stopping Ortiz. Can Stannionis win a decision? You know, I think he can. I think Stannionis has a very solid shot. I think this is close to a 50-50 fight. And I think Stannionis does have a solid shot of edging out a decision, you know, or counterpunching his way to a decision. So we'll see. Now, what does a win mean for Imantas Stannionis? Well, a win puts him really, I mean, in all honesty, I think the winner of this fight can argue number 3 in the division. I really do. You know, Jaron Ennis has really made his mark at welterweight, but I don't think Ennis has defeated a fighter along the same lines of a victory, what a victory would mean to the winner of this fight right here, if that makes sense. So they're going to be neck and neck for number 3, in my opinion, after Crawford and Spence. So a win for Stannionis to move up to there would be huge, and to be a guy that a lot of people are predicting alongside Ennis to be the next big thing. You know, that would be so big for Imantas Stannionis. So a win would be epic, and it probably becomes the full champion, you know, right around the end of the year or early next year, and really has staked his claim. And that could set up a big fight with Boots Ennis, who is likely going to be your next IBF champion. So that just, you know, it really, really would be huge for Stannionis. What does a loss mean for Stannionis? You know, here's the thing. I think more people are picking Ortiz to win this fight than anybody else. So as long as he goes out and makes a statement against Ortiz, even in defeat, I don't think it's, of course, losing your first fight's big. You know, it's a big deal. It hurts. But I don't think it's going to hurt as much as it would normal people, just because Stannionis does have a bright future. He is a talented fighter, and he could probably work his way back into the mix. But again, he goes out there and gets his ass whipped against Virgil Ortiz. That's different. That might look at him like, well, it might give him more opportunities, but I'm not 100% if you know, I'm not 100% if Ortiz can pull this one. I mean, if a loss hurts Stannionis badly, because I think most aren't expecting him to win, if that makes sense. So now let's switch over to the undefeated top contender, Virgil Ortiz, and look at, you know, his side of it. Now let's take a look at the what has he done rolling into this fight. Well, his last 3 fights date back to March of 2021, so he hasn't been super active in the last 2.5 years, but he's been active enough. He fought twice that year. He defeated Maurice Hooker in that year by a 7th round TKO. It was actually a pretty good fight, a firefight against the former 140-pound champ. Then he took on the Mean Machine, Edigis Kavaliauskas. He took him on in August of 2021, and that was another good one. And he broke Kavaliauskas down, put him down in the 9th round, and I think it was the 8th round, and that was actually 1 round better. And remember, Kavaliauskas is the guy that put down Crawford, so that was a good win. That was probably the best win on paper for him. And then in his last fight, he took on undefeated but little-known Michael McKinson, and he broke McKinson down and stopped him in the 9th round. I believe that was August of last year. So we're looking at an 11-month layoff, but that's also because Ortiz has been trying to set up a big fight himself. And now that big fight is here against Stannionis. You know, Ortiz is hungry. He is ready, in my opinion. He's rolling into this fight with a 2-inch height and a 2-inch reach advantage, and I think he needs to play off of that. I really do. What kind of fight does he need to have the best chance at beating Imanta Stannionis? I really think he needs to use the height and reach advantage early on, and you know, do kind of what he is, but don't just be the aggressor right out the gate, because I think Stannionis wants that. That's what Stannionis did against Butayev, as I mentioned earlier, and it worked to his advantage. He was able to edge out Butayev, who was coming at him the whole fight. Stannionis, if he gets him in the middle of the ring, Ortiz needs to throw his jab, try to set up those shots, and also test Stannionis to see if Stannionis can take his power, and also to be honest, to get hit with a shot and see if he can take Stannionis' power. That's really going to define whether he should be moving forward in the fight. But Ortiz does have a lot of tools, but I really think keeping the fight in the middle of the ring and then pushing the action at times can be the success level for Ortiz. I don't know if it's wise until, you know, maybe he actually goes for it, for him to be the aggressor the entire time. Even I know Ortiz is used to being the aggressor, but he might want to counterpunch at times just to throw off the rhythm of Stannionis, because as I said, Stannionis is a banger and he's a good fighter. But also, Ortiz needs to do that to be built for 12 rounds in this fight. He needs to make sure he's built for 12. But also, remember, Stannionis hasn't been super active either, and body shots can really affect and break down Stannionis. And that's what Ortiz has been successful at. 19-0, 19 knockouts. He breaks his opponents down. He breaks their will. And he's really going to have to be on his A game to do that in this one against Stannionis. This is the biggest fight of Virgil Ortiz's career by far. So, can Virgil Ortiz win this fight by knockout? I think he can. Ortiz isn't a monster one-punch knockout guy, and I don't think Stannionis is a guy that's going to get knocked out by one punch. But I do believe that Ortiz packs the tools and the skill set to break down Imanta Stannionis and possibly stop him in the late rounds. So, yeah, I think he possibly can knock him out. Can he win a decision? It's not going to be an easy one. I really think if this fight goes to the scorecards, it's going to be one of two things. The more likely thing is it's going to be a dogfight and it's going to be close. But the other way is if one fighter just overwhelms the other fighter and that other fighter just has a ton of heart and won't go down, and then it goes to the scorecards and it's a one-sided decision. But I don't see that. I think the talent on display here, outside of the fact that these guys haven't been super active, so I could see possibly one guy breaking down late in the fight. That's the only way I really see Virgil Ortiz, a decision going against or going for. That's the way I can see those decisions go. So yeah, he can, but I think it's going to be close if it goes to scorecards. Now, what does a win mean for Virgil Ortiz here? Oh, it means everything. As I said with Stannionis, the winner is going to be the next big thing next to Jaron Boots Ennis, and it's probably going to set up that dream match in the future, because everybody's been talking about Boots and Ortiz anyways for the last however long, a couple years now, that they're the future of the welterweight division. And a win for Ortiz makes him the regular champ, but he probably gets upgraded to full champ. Probably. And then once that happens, he'll get bumped to as I said, he'll get excuse me one second. He'll get bumped to full champ next year, and Boots Ennis will be likely your next IBF champion. So yeah, I can really see a huge fight brewing, you know, between Ortiz and Boots Ennis down the road, which would be huge for Boots and for Ortiz. So a win here is huge. It leads to that fight. It also makes him a world champion and gives him the biggest win of his career for Virgil Ortiz. So, and this is really the proof that's going to show everybody that he's not just meant to be a top 10 guy, he's meant to be a top 5 and future star of the sport. So, this is a big one for Virgil Ortiz if he can win it. A loss is going to hurt Virgil Ortiz more than it's going to hurt Boots Ennis. Of course, Stannionis, of course, depending on how he were to lose the fight. If he goes out there and loses a close decision, I don't think it's going to hurt him all that much, but I do believe more people are expecting him to win than lose. So that is significant, and he really needs to try to capitalize and go after this victory, you know, and get it. But a loss definitely will hurt Virgil Ortiz here. Now, the last two things. First off, is it better for boxing if Stannionis retains his title or Virgil Ortiz becomes the WBA regular champ? And that one's easy. It's better for boxing if Ortiz wins this fight. 19-0, 19 knockouts from Mexico. You know, you can't really beat that kind of level right there. You know, he's a Mexican. I don't know if he's Mexican-American. I think he is Mexican-American. But, you know, a Mexican-American fighter is just sells. It sells in boxing. Over and over and over, it sells. And Ortiz, you know, 19-0, 19 knockouts. That's just going to draw so much. A guy still from the, you know, from Lithuania. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, he's a great fighter, Stannionis. But I don't think it's going to mean as much and is as good for boxing if Stannionis pulls off this win. It wouldn't be bad, but I don't think it's going to be good for boxing. You know, and I definitely think it's better for boxing if Ortiz wins. And then finally, my prediction on this fight. Who do I think is going to win this fight between Stannionis and Virgil Ortiz for the WBA regular welterweight title? And I got to go with Virgil Ortiz in this one. It's tough, though, because Stannionis, again, don't sleep on this guy, and I will not be surprised if he pulls off the win here. I really won't. I know a lot of people think he's a lock. I don't think he's a lock. I think this is a good fight. And I definitely think Stannionis is the best that Virgil's ever fought. I just think because of the time off that Stannionis has had, 15-month layoff, and the fact that Virgil has that height and reach advantage, as long as Virgil fights a smart fight, I think he can take Stannionis deep. I think he can break him down, and I think he can stop him, and I think he will become the WBA regular welterweight champion. But again, that's not a lock. I do believe Stannionis stands a very good chance of pulling off this win, and I think it could go either way. So that's it. That's what I got. That's my Stannionis versus Ortiz breakdown video for the WBA welterweight regular title. It takes place again Saturday, July 8th on DAZN in the main event, and it should be a banger. So don't miss out on it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.